Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price. I am one of the two co-founders of Billy Footwear, and I love Open Book. Open Book for so many reasons. One is because, as the name implies, Open Book, we are an open book as a brand, but also our shoes kind of open up like a book. So I guess, kind of a play on words. But being an open book, we love to share stories. And we can share stories about our brand. We can share stories about our journey, but we can also share amazing stories of those we get to collaborate with. So I am so honored to be able to have Tamara joining us today. Tamara just recently won Miss Wheelchair America representing her state of Kansas. So Tamara, thank you so much for joining us today on Open Book.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be with you guys.
So I have so many questions that I want to ask you, and I think a great place to start is, I mean, how did you get involved with Miss Wheelchair America? The competition, everything. Like, how did you start getting involved?
So I'm kind of new to still being in a wheelchair. 2020 is when I started using one, and I really wanted to do something more with the diagnosis instead of just living in it. And so I kind of prayed about it and was like on Google one day, and Miss Wheelchair Kansas popped up. And I was reluctant because in my mind, I just thought pageant. And but I did reach out and then got the down low on what it is, and found out that it was far from a pageant. And so I ran for the local title, and I won the local title this past March. And of course, being a title holder, you are somewhat obligated to go to the national competition. And so we went, myself and 21 other contestants met up in Michigan, and I guess the rest is history because they called my name as the winner.
Can you talk about the competition? Because I'm really interested to know, because I think it's a lot of, I think you have the opportunity to kind of present and to share your ideas. And so, yeah, could you touch on that? Because I'm really intrigued.
Yeah. So first of all, the competition in itself is awesome, but to be in a space with that many other wheelchair users is simply amazing. And so again, for me being new to being in a wheelchair, that was just like boom, it was just so awesome. And then the Friday before, like the speech night and all that stuff, we had this dancing through the decades party, just the best time ever. But so it is a competition, but all of us get together, we call each other Wheel Sisters, and we really got to bond and really just have those conversations that we kind of can't have with other people because they don't understand. But as far as the competition goes, there's like a 5-tier grading scale. We were required to submit an essay on a topic, and I think it was like what do we feel is the main issue that the disability community faces. And so that's graded. It's blindly graded. We could put any identifying markers in that essay. I'm 40, so I was just like, I gotta write an essay. I haven't done this in a long time, but I had to write the essay, submit your application, and it's far from just what your name is, but it's like, what have you done? What advocacy work have you done? What media presence do you have? What, are you on social media and all of those different things? And so then when you get there, there are different things that are going on throughout the week, but then we have the judging. That I think Wednesday and Thursday we were judged. There were 3 or 4 judges, and then they have all of these questions that they're asking all of us. We go in individually, and so you're like a nervous wreck because you want to say the right thing, but then for me, I was just keeping it 100, authenticity, just being real. And then you go through 2 panels of those, and then speech night. I have not watched my speech night because I fumbled my words, and everybody else was like, you did so amazing. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I've uploaded it, have not watched it, but we all had to give a speech. And then once all of those elements came together, they kind of graded those, and then that's when they came up with the top 5. So then there was, out of the 22, they came up with 5 to do on stage questions. And so then they call you, and I was the first to be called as, one of the top 5, which was like, I was just there to do my obligation, but it was like, oh, you're top 5 now. So then that was like nerve wracking. because now you're in front of all these people and then you're live on social media and they're asking you questions. But I guess long story short, everybody answered their questions and they came back and they fourth runner up, third runner up. And I was still sitting up there and like they called my name and it was just like, and my first runner up said, you just won. And I was just like, oh, I really did just win. So the competition in a nutshell. But honestly, it was just fun just to be with the other girls.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. I mean, and it just sounds, I mean, yeah, it is a competition. I love how you started it. It is a competition, but it's so much more than that, like being able to get together. And I mean, everyone's carrying, I guess, a responsibility representing their state. I'm just kind of curious. So now, like, even if those that did not actually did not win the competition, but I mean, they still have the responsibility to represent their state and get involved with the community. What does it mean now as Miss Wheelchair? Well, I guess Miss Wheelchair Kansas, but also Miss Wheelchair America. What do you do now when you're back in your community?
Oh my gosh. So it's a little nuts because I've been on like television a lot and newspapers and magazines and stuff. And so people are like staring and like, I seen you on the newspaper. So that's kind of weird and awesome too, but it's just really carrying the same platform that I did for the state. I actually still have my state title. Usually they have you relinquish it to your first or for your runner up, but they asked me to continue to carry my title. And so I do have responsibilities for Kansas as well as America. But my platform is on accessibility, about the need for inclusion, but welcoming spaces. And so I plan to, and I'm continuing doing that, but I plan to do that on a larger scale throughout America.
Wow. I mean, can you expand on that? I mean, can you touch on like what are some of the things? Is it a matter of meeting with schools or meeting with government officials or walk me through that.
All of the above. And so my platform starts with a question, and I had to literally ask myself, and I still do, because it's not like everything's changed overnight just because I have the tiara and sash, but I had to ask myself, am I going to fit? So I would go to a restaurant and they would see that I'm in the chair and I'm like, am I going to fit? Is my joystick, because I'm in a power chair. So it's like, is my joystick going to fit? I had an incident at one of the local schools, and the misuse of the companion seat and the accessible seating was just atrocious. And so that's what started me saying, like, am I going to fit? And it's navigating accessibility through personal experience. And so I share with the schools, with the city council members, with the governor. I've met my governor, with the different mayors of the state, and all of that, what that means for individuals like myself when we go out into society, the society that we contribute to, building up, and then we cannot really function and enjoy ourselves. And so I try to go everywhere that I can. Whoever's going to listen, I want to tell them about the necessity of making sure that everything is inclusive, and then not just the bare minimum of inclusion, because we see that sometimes it's just not okay to have go all around the building to find the ramp or to be in what is considered an accessible bathroom, but you cannot use the bathroom. You can't even wash your hands. I've been in situations like that. And so whoever's going to listen, I'm going to tell them all about it and then try to invoke some type of tangible change.
So I'm curious. So wearing the Kansas crown, but now wearing the America crown, is it going to take you outside of Kansas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so I still do a lot locally. A lot of times it's just easier. Just being a disabled person, it's not easy to do a lot of traveling, trusting the airlines with your wheelchair and stuff like that. And so being able to do things like this, being virtual, is so helpful because I can communicate with someone clear across the country, and that still counts as an appearance for that state or something like that. But I do have things on my calendar that will take me I'm in Kansas, so I'll be in LA. I'll be in Dallas next month for an expo. I'll be probably in New York for something. And I have different events. I can't wait to go to the Roll on Capitol Hill in DC. That'll be in June. So I will have to get out and do stuff. But again, it's kind of good also to have the avenue to do things like this, because it's a little bit easier.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I definitely get it. I mean, I'm a wheelchair user myself. I broke my neck
Right.
years ago, and when I was a teenager, and which was a long time ago now at this point. But yeah, I mean, the world is just different. I mean, the world's not flat, and I gotta say that, you know, the pioneers that came before me to help make the world more accessible. It's been incredible to see like
Right.
what's accomplished between, for me, the last 28 years, and it just warms my heart that there's people out there like you, Tamara, like just like having that torch burn to make the world not only more accessible but more inclusive. So,
Right.
and I love that you're working with the schools. I'm curious. You were saying you don't typically do public speaking, but do you get up there and speak in front of the assemblies, some of the kids?
Yeah. Oh, I recently just had one of the most amazing in school assemblies, where I went to a town called Linwood here in Kansas, and no, not Linwood, Linden, Kansas. And I went to their elementary school, first through fifth graders, and we had an assembly. It was so awesome. It was so awesome. So it was awesome too, because they had a workshop day. And this needs to happen more, where it was other wheelchair users that got to come in, kind of share their story, but then share how they do things. I do this content series on my social media called Tamara Does It Like, and I share how I do things. These kids had questions about how do you shower? How do you sleep? One kid asked me, I'm sorry, he asked me how I sit. That's still to this day, and it's been weeks now, it makes me giggle, because I was just like, it took me back, because I was like, how do I explain? Like, I sit like everybody else, but they have those questions. And so, like, yeah, going into the schools is awesome. And then I also get to go into like the pre-Ks and the kindergarten classes and read books to them. And I choose to read books about accessibility. I love this book. I think it's called What Happened to You, about a little boy who has an amputated leg. And I shared that book. And then there's a book called Mama Zooms, and it's a mother in a wheelchair, and her son tells this story of how he sits on her lap and they zoom around, but then Mama is the spaceship and she's the bucking Bronco, rodeo thing. And I get to share those stories. And I think it helps to open their horizon up, so later on in life, they will have more empathy and compassion and understanding.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I mean, so I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they ask lots of questions, and and it's awesome because they're inquisitive, they're
Yeah.
curious, and I think it's important. I think perhaps like our parents' generation and like before that, like it was one of those just don't ask the question, and now we're in more of an open forum where it's important to ask the question and to get the answer at an earlier age, to be able to foster like acceptance and just realize that we need to accept people for where they're at. And it just really, to me, talks a lot about like not only community but just creating this inclusive space that we can all be successful.
Right. Because if they don't ask, then how will they know? And I always say it's really not what they ask. It's kind of like, and it's usually with adults, it's just how you ask it. Just have a little couth about it. Like, like, some people will be like, so what are you doing in a wheelchair? And it's like, I'm just living life.
That's always, it's always interesting when someone leads with that. You could have said like hello or how are you today, or the weather's nice, but they go right to the question. Another thing, like through the kids' perspective, that I love, and like all kids want to play, so there's always a way that one can play. You just kind of have to figure it out, and that's another thing I'm talking about. Inclusive spaces and accessible spaces. There's so many playgrounds now that are just open for the whole family now, that I can actually roll out there and like be with my kids, and that did not exist growing up.
Yeah, and that is actually one thing on my to-do list, and I'm working in my community to make sure that we have an accessible park. I've talked to my mayor, and the city manager. So we are working towards that. And I'm working with my local Lions Club because we want to get an accessible swing in for wheelchair users. And I tell them, I say, just imagine going to the park with your child, and because a lot of times you can take your child to the park and then you kind of sit on the bench and just watch them. But just imagine if that was your only choice. You didn't have another option. If you wanted to go push them on a swing, you can't, because if there's sand and mulch down there, if you're in a wheelchair, you can't do that. And so I think it's very important that we have spaces where parents can participate in their children's growth and experiences rather than just being onlookers.
Yeah, most definitely. Wow. So, oh my gosh. So Tamara, there's so many things I want to ask you, but I want to be respectful of your time. So let me first, I'm going to put up your Instagram up here on the screen right here. So everyone out there that's listening in today and viewing this, so if you're viewing it, you can see it on the screen right here, but I'll read it off if you're just listening in. So our Instagram handle is YaGirlTam. So it's YA_GIRL_TAM. So check out Tamara on her Instagram, that all she's doing, all she's getting plugged into. Follow her, and boy, because Tamara, you are doing big things. I do want to ask you one more question, and that is, I would imagine there's others that are listening in and viewing this that have never heard of like Miss Wheelchair America. And one, maybe they want to learn more, but two, maybe they want to get plugged in and just realizing like this bigger picture. So I'm going to put the website up on the screen right here, but can you talk about just like the application process that you went to? Like, how did you find out about it, and what did the application process look like? Because I would imagine that the Miss Wheelchair America, the organization, is always looking for new blood.
Yes, and it's really simple. If you don't know about your local chapter, you're going to find it out on the actual website for the Miss Wheelchair America, but you can simply go to do a Google search and type in Miss Wheelchair, your state. And if it has something, it's going to pop up. But I also just recommend just go over to the misswheelchairamerica.org because it's going to cover everything. If you don't have an organization in your state, it's cool. You can come in as an independent delegate. They will walk you through the steps to make sure that you can participate. This is not a beauty pageant. We are not looking for individuals that can twirl a baton and wear a ball gown. We are looking for passionate individuals that are ready to shift the culture for not only just the benefit of the disability community, but for the community at large, because we all have to coexist together. And I always say that when we make these changes, it doesn't just benefit our community, and it hurts no able-bodied person to have a ramp or to have a push button. And we're being proactive rather than reactive. And you don't have to do public speaking if you don't want to. If you become the title holder, you get to basically check the boxes of what you want to do. You may be better at working with children. You may be better with doing volunteer work in the background. It will be totally up to you, and you work with your coordinator to schedule those things out. And so it's just, even if you don't want to hold the title, you can get involved. We need women who are passionate about change. And there are some states that have Little Miss and Junior Miss programs too. So if you know little people, so your kids that are in elementary school, middle school, and high school, there are programs out there for those girls too.
Wow. Well, that is like very, very eloquently put. And I am so excited, Tamara, that you are out there on the front lines, like not pushing the program, but pushing, furthering the mission to make the world more accessible and just getting people engaged. I mean, it is a team effort. It's not just individual. We need to come together as a team to really keep making the world a better place. So the website up here, those that are viewing it, it's misswheelchairamerica.org. I'll spell it out. MSWHEELCHAIRAMERICA.org. So be sure to go and check that out.
Yep.
Tamara, thank you again so much for your time today. This was absolutely awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and look forward to seeing you again.
Well, me too. Me too. Everyone else out there, this was another episode of Open Book. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out Tamara. You'll definitely you'll be impressed for sure. So until then, we'll have another episode of Open Book again real soon. So until then, take care.